Let's bring in the panel now. Joining us this week is royal writer Victoria Murphy and the Daily Mail's diary editor, of course, Richard Eden. Welcome to you both. I'm going to start with you, Victoria. What did you make of the choice for Harry and Meghan's first, well, I shouldn't say royal trip, but official working trip?
It is, and it's the first time we've seen them in a long time do something in person. And I think it's really interesting because you look at this and you can see, I think, how they will feel that they have achieved a lot of what they wanted to achieve. They've left the royal family, but they are making this huge appearance. They've been invited by the Mayor of New York. They are headliners at this big global event. You know, it kind of does really cement their relevance, despite the fact that they've stepped back as working royals. But I think it's interesting because, as Rebecca said, they don't represent anything else now. They don't represent the monarchy, they don't represent Britain, they're just there as individuals. And I think moving forward now, we are going to see a little bit more of how they hope their new identities will be shaped, because we haven't really been able to see that because of the pandemic, because they've obviously taken a little step back since they had their second child. But now I think we're going to see how they want to be seen, and are they going to adopt, almost kind of repackage the royal model? Are they going to make all of these appearances, some small, some big, and be very visible and have this kind of engagement programme? Or are they going to be less visible, work on long-term projects and make occasional appearances? And I think that's what's going to be very interesting now, is we're going to see how they hope to shape these roles.
But do you not think that Americans in particular will just continue to see them as royals if this is the kind of sort of like grand VIP situation that keeps happening?
It's interesting because does every member of the public fully see the distinction in the way that we obviously we follow the royal family? We know that they've formally stepped back, they have no formal representation, but people, you can't separate them from the family. They're very much in the family. So will people draw that distinction? I think that's an interesting question. And of course the royal family, have made it very clear that they don't officially represent them, they don't officially represent Britain, and that's something they'll obviously may have to make clear in the future as well.
I think it's a very awkward situation. I mean, let's be clear.
Well, they've been very clear in using their titles for this visit as well, haven't they?
I mean, this is the first visible example of them doing what I've always said they would do, and trying to establish a rival royal family. You know, they are the royals across the water, and they're embarking on this royal-style engagement to demonstrate that. I mean, what confuses me is, why are they wanted there, really? I mean, it's an event, I think, about publicising, fair distribution of vaccines and that sort of thing.
Well, it seems to have been a cause that they want to promote and align with.
We saw them at the Vax event, the sort of concert with the rock stars before. So it's, something they've got involved in.
So what do you make of, we were talking last week, weren't we, about Kate visiting returning Afghanistan troops and speculating that maybe that's something that Harry is looking at sort of almost enviously, wishing he could still do that sort of thing. Do you think that that's still the case, or do you think this is just more what he's into now?
No, I think we will see. I'm sure he'll be looking for more opportunities where he can undertake similar engagements to the one Duchess of Cambridge did. Obviously, he's still very much involved in Invictus for injured ex-servicemen, so that's something that you might see. He'll do other events of this kind, and this era of visibility that we've seen, I think it will be rival royal engagements, if you like, and it's going to be very interesting to watch. But there'll be some very nervous, I think, courtiers at the palace here about how things are going to roll out.
The period of invisibility seemed to have passed me by, for one, but I don't know about you. But let's talk about Kate for a minute. Victoria, it seems like she's going for the crown this year as the hardest working royal.
I mean, maybe. I mean, let's not forget, they all did have a big sort of step back over the summer, didn't they? And I think we're going to continue to see William and Kate very much. They are busy, and their roles have definitely grown in the last couple of years, but they do still focus on their family. We do see at half terms and holidays and stuff, they do want to have that time together. I think Kate, in coming out and doing the engagements that she's done at the start of this term, you can see that now she is taking on significant responsibilities, and that she's doing solo engagements that are very important. She's representing the Queen, meeting people who carried out the evacuation in Afghanistan, and I was there and I spoke to some of the people afterwards, and you very much got the sense from them that this was a very formal representation from her on behalf of the Queen, and they said, you know, we serve the Queen, we serve the monarchy, and it really matters to us that they are here. And that's a responsibility that I don't think she would have been given many years ago on her own. Interestingly, I think, I was thinking about this the other day, about how William and Kate have recently seemed to be doing quite a lot of separate engagements. And I do wonder if that is perhaps just because they can cover more ground. You know, there are not as many working royals since Harry and Meghan left, and they can get through a lot more if they're doing separate engagements. But also, I think probably reflects the fact that she in particular has really grown in her position and in her confidence, and is very happy to do big engagements on her own now. And they have their own causes as well.
She's definitely sort of like feeling more queenly. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't underestimate the importance of her engagements. You know, like my daughter is a member of the Air Cadets, and that's what Kate was representing this week, I think, and it is brilliant in terms of inspiring young people to get involved. She was, Duchess of Cambridge was at a new activity or revamped activity centre in the Lake District. And so it really does give a lift to these groups, I think.
Now let's turn to slightly less popular royals. Prince Andrew, Richard, let's have a word on him. Reports suggest this week that he is frustrated with his legal team. Do you buy that, or do you think that that's just sort of friends deflecting?
Well, I think that he has, or sort of sources close to Andrew have put out a statement saying that, in fact, he is happy to stick with his legal team. But I think it's just a reflection of the frustration of the whole process. And, you know, we're going to see more and more of that as this situation drags on. I mean, I hope by the time people watch this programme that maybe Prince Andrew will have met his new granddaughter, and that's at least something that's lifting the family and you know, bringing some happy news for once.
For once. Victoria, you often write for an American audience. How do you think this whole Prince Andrew melodrama is being perceived stateside?
Well, it's a huge story. You know, there's more polling in the UK as to what the public think. You know, in the UK, we know that his popularity is very low. The public have an unfavourable opinion largely. There's not as much polling in the US, but anecdotally, I would say I think it's probably very similar. I think the thing about the US is that the Epstein story has been a huge story over there for a very long time, totally independently of the allegations against Andrew. And there's been some really important reporting, investigative reporting done in Miami, for example, around the Epstein story. And so this is a big story for them anyway. And then you combine that with the fact that there's this fascination among many people with our royal family, and you have what is that people are really following this, you know, and that's the problem for the royal family, because it's playing out globally. And, you know, Andrew is, you know, he's the poster boy for republicanism. I mean, he literally is, because Republic have got him on billboards. And the monarchy are officially distancing themselves from him. But there's only so much they can do that. You know, they can take away all of the professional credentials, they can stop him appearing publicly, formally representing the monarchy, but he's still the Queen's son, and that is not going to change. And this is very damaging, will continue to be damaging for as long as it goes on. And we're already seeing things like the Platinum Jubilee next year, which would be a wholly celebratory event. People are sort of looking at some aspects of that and saying, will Andrew be there? And that's now entering the conversation into these moments of big celebration for the royals.